friends. Welcome to episode 10 of Vibe with Venerables, 1 hour of live Dharma and dialogue where you get to talk directly to a respected Venerable. I'm Ming, co-founder of Buddhism-dot-net and your host. So today we continue our Summer of Love, and we have the second of our wonderful monastics from Sarasti Abbey, Venerable Thubten Lamsel. Venerable Lamsel began studying the Dharma in 2011 in New Zealand, and in 2016 she visited Sarasti Abbey, and she felt like she found the supportive monastic environment she had been looking for. She returned again in 2017 and took Anagarika precepts, and then in March of 2024, Venerable Lamsel received Bhikshuni ordination. She teaches meditation workshops and Buddhist classes in the local community and online. And today, Venerable Lamsel is here to talk about love. And she will answer the question, what does it mean to say, I love you? So, as usual, Venerable will speak for roughly 30 minutes and then answer your questions live. And as a reminder, this session will be recorded and will be uploaded on YouTube later. And for those of you joining us on YouTube, I'd like to invite you to turn your camera on so that Venerable can see your lovely faces. With that, Venerable Lamsel, can we invite you to lead us in the opening prayer, and if you'd like to, a minute of meditation?
Sure. Thank you. Wonderful to be with you, Ming. So, taking a moment to visualize our teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha, in the space in front of us so that we are not reciting these prayers to empty space, but really generating a sense of refuge in our heart as part of setting our motivation for this brief time together today. Gathering all kind mother sentient beings around us who we depend on for everything. Imagining leading them in these recitations and leading them in generating virtue in their mind, these causes for happiness. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha, by the merit I create by engaging in generosity and the other far-reaching practices. I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha, by the merit I create by listening to the Dharma. I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha, by the merit I create by listening to the Dharma. I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free of suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings not be separated from sorrowless bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So just come back to your breath for a moment. I invite you to accompany me on a thought experiment. Visualize in front of you one of your parents, a co-worker or a team member of some kind, a colleague, a stranger, and an enemy. So 4 people. And one by one, I invite you to say to them, I love you. So with your parent, whether they're alive or not, doesn't matter. I love you. Then to a coworker or a team member, I love you. A stranger, I love you. And an enemy or someone you find difficult, I love you. Just notice how that resounds in your body and mind with the different people briefly. Okay. So I wanted to start with that because I've had my own journey with this phrase, I love you. I haven't lived in the same country as my parents for about over 15 years now. And so there've been a lot of international phone calls and Zoom sessions where they usually end with, I love you. It's just normal, right? With family, it's this exchange. But I noticed quickly when I started practicing the Dharma that what I was meaning by that was starting to change, and how it felt to say those words that I wasn't, especially at the monastery, there's not really a phrase that we say too often, right? We don't go around saying, I love you. So they hear that with my parents. It felt a bit strange because it's not so frequent, but it also had a different feel to it because to me that phrase feels slightly sticky. There's attachment, there's a bit of grasping, there's this sense of, I'm not quite sure, just this stickiness. Whereas it got clearer in my mind what love means. Going back to the definition that Venerable Children gave us last week in the first session of this series, where we're really wishing others to have happiness and its causes. And so it became clear where, on these Zoom calls with my parents, it's like, wow, when I say I love you, I'm really wishing you to have happiness in its causes. And my idea of what that means is dramatically changing through my practice compared to what it used to mean. Last week, Venerable went through a whole variety of happiness that we can wish others to have. And foremost, or not foremost, but to start with, the worldly happiness. We want all beings, and particularly our loved ones, to have enough food, clothing, medicine, shelter, to be at ease and comfortable. Sure, like harmonious relationships, success in their career, happiness in the worldly way. But within the Buddhist context, we're also zooming out to this much larger context of many lifetimes and being stuck in cyclic existence and wanting people to have this more long-term, long-lasting, stable happiness that doesn't come from just chasing after worldly things like praise, fame, sense pleasure, and so forth. And so I really wanted to dig in a little bit to start with about the causes of happiness, because that's something we didn't really touch on too much last week. But what does it mean to wish others to have causes for happiness? And so here we come to the idea of virtue. And so what is virtue? Well, what brings happiness? It's a bit of a circular argument. But in a way, as the Buddha didn't invent karma, but he observed when, through his concentration and his wisdom, he came to see that certain causes bring certain effects. And so what the causes that bring about happiness, he labeled virtue. We should do those things. What he saw, these causes that brought unhappiness, non-virtue, don't do those things. Why? Because we all want to be happy. So let's do the things that will bring about our happiness. And I guess the most simplest framework, not simplest, well, one of the frameworks easy to hold in mind is the 10 non-virtues. And so in terms of creating the causes for happiness, we can refrain from the 10 non-virtues, but we can also do their exact opposite or engage in the 10 virtues. So, there's 3 of the body. We want to refrain from killing, stealing, unwise and unkind sexual behavior. But we can also create virtue, create the causes for happiness by doing their exact opposite. We protect life. We protect others' property. We use our sexuality wisely and kindly. And then the same with speech. We try and refrain from lying, divisive speech, harsh talk, gossip. And we can do the opposite to create causes for happiness or engage in virtue as well. So we can speak kindly, truthfully, bringing people together, talking about things that are meaningful, and so forth. And, you know, when we wish others to have happiness in as causes, I want to encourage us that we can be really powerful agents of influence by being role models. We can inspire others to create their own causes for happiness without necessarily even having to say a word. Because no one wants to be preached to, right? Getting on our high and mighty horse of, I know how you should live your life so that you don't create so much misery for yourself. That's not really so well received. But I want to share a few stories about just how by living our own values and ethical conduct, then we can significantly impact others and inspire them to create their own causes for happiness. And in this way, our own ethics is a way to express our love and care for others as well. And in one story, I've been inspired by something that happened with Venerable Lamsel, one of the senior nuns here, where sometime along her journey of going back to visit her sister in Canada, she must have, there was a bug in the house, and I think someone was going to kill it. And so she gets up and she's like, no. And she gets a cup and a piece of paper and gets the bug and takes it outside. And everyone's kind of like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? And so then the conversation proceeds around, well, this little bug, which is trying to run away from us wanting to thwack it, clearly wants to live, right? And why is my life more important than is? Let's just take it outside. It's not harming anyone. Leave it alone. And so I don't know how many times more this happened with this example, but at some point, Venerable Lamsel's sister picks up this behavior and starts doing it herself. And Venerable Lamsel's sister is not Buddhist, but this speaks to the idea that, we all have kind hearts. We can all connect with, this little being wants to be happy, doesn't want to die. Let's protect this life. And then Venerable Lamsel's sister at her workplace starts doing this behavior. And other people are like, what are you doing? And so it spreads through one person's modeling of ethical conduct, modeling of creating the causes for happiness, then spreads to others in this organic, kind of beautiful way. And personally, I know with my family, when I went vegetarian, coming from a very British Australian family with meat almost in every meal, my parents had no idea what to do with me and didn't know how to cook or anything like that. And I didn't really know how to cook either. I had to completely relearn. But it sparked a conversation, or it just sparked some contemplation. And so now my mom sends me some vegetarian recipes in email and has talked about meatless Mondays and reducing their meat consumption, with knowing the reasons why I'm motivated to do this, to protect life. So that's the happiness that I'm wishing for my family, is to live ethically, to create the causes for their own happiness by engaging in non-harm, and within the long term, wishing, to be free from ignorance, attachment, and anger in their own minds, and then the behaviors that flow from that. And so, this is easy to wish for those that we're close to. But this isn't the extent of immeasurable love that the Buddha taught, or great love that's leading to bodhicitta. This biased love that just is concerned about those who we are close to, but rather we're wanting to have this unbiased love, care, affection for each and every sentient being without exception. And this brings us back to another question that Venerable kind of was asking in the first session around, what are the prerequisites to love? What is the groundwork that we need to do to break down the barriers of our bias that we have around our friends, enemies, and strangers? And so we can have this honest, heartfelt sense of affection for others. And so I wanted to touch on 2 prerequisites that will help us get to genuine love. And the first is the idea of leveling the playing field, or I guess, taking the rocks out of the garden in terms of generating equanimity, so we don't discriminate between friend, enemy, and stranger in terms of our sense of care and affection. And then the second prerequisite in terms of generating this sense of warm-heartedness towards others, that we find them endearing or lovable. And there are different ways to do this. Especially in the Tibetan tradition, there's 2 main ways of generating bodhicitta, where love is kind of like one of the middle steps that has different ways to approach this. But I've been quite inspired by one text by Nagarjuna called The Tale of a Wish-Fulfilling Dream. And he gives 5 reasons to generate love for all beings. And I like this because the Buddha was very clear about using logic and reasoning to examine his teachings and to use as the basis for our own mental development. And these reasonings, when we sit with them and reflect on them again and again, provide a kind of a stable basis on which to ground our love and compassion. It's not wishy-washy. It's got very good reasoning and grounding underneath why we can really expand our sense of care and affection to countless beings. And so the first reason that Nagarjuna goes into in terms of getting at equanimity is that we and all sentient beings are equal in wanting happiness and freedom from suffering. And I find it first helpful just to touch into this truth for ourselves, to examine one of our own days. That from the time we wake up till we go to bed, every decision that we make, personally speaking, is linked to this wish for happiness and wish to be free from suffering. The time that I get up, what do I do when I first get up? What clothes I put on when I get up? Do I make coffee? Do I put cream and sugar in it? Or do I drink a herbal tea? Every decision at each turn is this seeking for happiness in a small, however small, mundane way. And we can sit with that and go through that and get kind of like a felt sense of that. Then we apply that understanding to others. It's very interesting just to people watch and to observe others with this oh, they're wearing that, they're eating that, they're doing that, because they're trying to find happiness. And this sense of understanding and connection can really come from this. It's quite beautiful because we're all the same in this. We express it in different ways. We eat different things, we wear different things, we pass our time in different ways, but at the core, the decisions we're making are coming from this very root, fundamental wish for happiness and freedom from suffering. And then going on to the second reason, building on this, and this is kind of helping us to generate this, build on the heartfelt sense of care and affection for others. Nagarjuna invites us to see that it is important and also possible to love other sentient beings because we've gone through the same experiences in samsara repeatedly. And this common experience brings us close to each other. And in the verse that he has, it says, "Since we dwelt as one, I am fond of them." And I think this is true. I mean, this is the basis of all team building things that we have in the workplaces, in school, in universities, in monasteries, in various places. There's these activities that we do to bring people closer together because we know that when we do things together, have shared experiences, there's a sense of fondness and care and affection that comes, that can bridge superficial differences. And then the third reason, even building on this even more, is in limitless previous lives, we've been each other's parents and children. And to read the verse pertaining to this, he says, "Not just once did I reside in every womb, nor is there a single sentient being who did not reside in my womb. Therefore, we are all family." And I like to just sit with the visual of this in terms of a mother with her hands on her swollen belly, very affectionately, gently caring for the baby that's inside. It's like, wow, I really imagine that each being has held me, cared for me in that way, and nourished me with their own body and care. It's like, wow, we have been so intimate with each other. It's just a matter of not remembering it. And then there's whole sets of meditations we can do to consider more extensively the kindness we've received from our parents. But in reasoning too around, it's possible to love others because we've gone through the same experiences. It's not just a mother-daughter, mother-son relationship either. It's like in both the Pali and the Mahayana Sutras, it says, it is hard to find someone who has not been our father, mother, daughter, brother, lover, husband, child. The whole spectrum of relationships we've been in with other sentient beings. There are no strangers here, actually. Which is, if we sit with this repeatedly, and this is where the idea of meditation being about familiarizing, about practice. It's not we do this meditation once and our mind flips from feeling indifferent to strangers to suddenly having this great warm-heartedness. But it's really about going one by one, individual by individual, considering this person has been my mother, father, brother, sister, lover before. What have we experienced with each other? The struggles, the joys. Wow, may this person be happy and have the causes for happiness. And allowing that to really shift our mind. And there may be an objection, like maybe, what happens if you don't believe in rebirth? Well, it's okay. There's still very convincing reasons to love all beings who are alive today. Because everything that we know, we use, we enjoy, every skill that we have has come from the kindness of others. I think that, everyone here who, everyone here probably didn't make all their clothes, grow all their food, build their entire house, put the plumbing in, do the electrical. And the skills that you have, someone taught you. Maybe some things you taught yourself. On YouTube, there's many how-to videos. Someone made that video to help you learn. Like we are not isolated individuals in a vacuum, kind of that independent do-it-by-myself idea. And so we want to really, really consider how deeply dependent we are on others for every aspect of our life. Then this sense of gratitude quite easily arises. And then the wish to repay that kindness. With this wish, may they be happy. And so in terms of an important point, I think, with the method here, in terms of generating this love and going through these prerequisites of equanimity and generating this kind of like seeing others as lovable and kind and endearing, is that, with immeasurable love, which we've been talking about, countless sentient beings. And we can sit there and have this very nice feeling of this array of beings in front of us, and we just radiate love out to them. But it's this amorphous kind of blob that doesn't necessarily mean anything. And then the next person that comes up and criticizes us, or the loved one that we know that then doesn't do what we want, is our love going to be able to withstand receiving what we don't want? So we're encouraged to start individual by individual and session by session, bringing different people to mind, so that one by one, and then in larger groups, extending the field of our love or our equanimity, then it really takes root and take root in our heart. And that way we don't fall to anger towards those who harm us, indifferent to strangers, or into clinging attachment to those who are our friends either. Well, I think this is a good pausing point, Ming, in terms of inviting some questions.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, friends, we are now at our Q&A session. Those of you who have any questions for Venerable, please use the hand raising function on Zoom, and then I will identify you and invite you to unmute yourself. While we're waiting, Venerable, I have a question for you, which is this love you're talking about, is this the same as bodhicitta or is it different?
Different. Love is a stepping stone or a prerequisite to bodhicitta. Yeah, so there's, I guess, two main methods that we can use to generate bodhicitta in the Tibetan tradition. One is the 7-point cause and effect method, and the other equalizing and exchanging self for others. And love features in both of them. Yeah, and I guess we can go to the 7-point cause and effect, where it starts with recognizing all beings. First, equanimity, leveling the playing field. Then recognizing all beings having our mother, reflecting on their kindness, and wanting to repay the kindness. And then this helps us see others as lovable. Then we generate actual love that wants them to have happiness in its causes. And the other side of the coin of that is compassion, wishing them to be free of suffering in its causes. Then we build on that. We don't just wish them to have happiness in its causes, but we decide to do something about it. We're going to take on the responsibility. So the great resolve, where it's like, I will bring about others to have happiness in its causes. And then we kind of reflect on, can I do that? Is it actually possible in my current state to bring about the happiness of all beings? No. So then what can the state of a Buddha, right? The Buddha who has infinite love, compassion, wisdom, a mind totally free of anger, attachment, ignorance, all the afflictions, spontaneous, skillful means, knows exactly how to benefit that being at that time in that context. So then becomes the bodhicitta, where we resolve that in order to benefit others, because I want to benefit others, I wish to become a Buddha. So without great love, the wish to have all sentient beings have happiness in its causes without exception, then there is no bodhicitta. Because bodhicitta is this wish to become a Buddha because we want to benefit others in the greatest way possible.
Oh, fascinating. So bodhicitta is like that broad and that deep, and it begins at the heart of it is love. No pun intended.
Yes.
Pun intended. Who am I kidding?
Love and compassion. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. We have a question from Venerable Kaya.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Venerable Lamsel. It's so nice to be here with you, and thank you for this event. I have, would like to hear from your thoughts and reflections. I have just been thinking that we received this idea of what is love in the common culture setting we have, and since we are little kids, and we listen different kind of songs and see different kind of movies, so we create what is love. And it's so related with attachment, and we have read from many different teachers and books from the Dharma what is the true love, the real love that is going to lead us to develop bodhicitta. Because with this idea of love is that desire to all beings be happy. If I'm thinking of the example you gave us, I really want my dad be happy, for example. But I know that love is also full of attachment. So how can I know that I'm developing through love and not a love full of attachment? So yeah, that's my question.
That's a good question. Yeah, and I think this points to why in the texts on how to develop love, they actually advise us to not start with our parents or with a loved one, or our partner, who those relationships where the attachment is most strong, because we can sit there basically meditating on strengthening our attachment as opposed to meditating on pure love. So we are advised to start with a colleague or a friend, someone who's more neutral, where the clinging isn't so strong. And then once that's kind of a bit more, we can get the felt sense of more clean, clear love that's not got the attachment there, then we can extend that to our loved ones. Oh, more parents or those in our family where the attachment may be a bit more strong. But I mean, in terms of how we know if our love is, meditation on love is pure or not, I think working with acknowledging that's going to be a bit mixed for a while as we're going along is just going to be natural. And so that's kind of just having, in my own experience, having the antennas up to catch those moments where I'm like, oh, you're reacting this way because of the attachment. And I find that anger is a good warning signal that my attachment is there, because attachment frustrated is anger, right? So yeah, when my expectations, or I have disappointments about decisions that are being made, or I don't receive a reaction that I wished, and then there's the anger or the frustration, I'm like, oh, that's the attachment. And then to work on the antidotes to the attachment in terms of working with realistic or unrealistic expectations, or coming back to my motivation more clearly, to be a benefit and not to just get what I want. It's like, yeah, so I find applying the antidotes to the attachment alongside the meditations on wishing them to have happiness, and to check up how much the I is still involved. Because love, as Venerable was saying last week, love is very much focused on the person that we are loving or wishing to be happy and have its causes, where the attachment is all about the self, right? I want something, or I'm getting something from this relationship, or I need you, or it's self-focused. So also the question of like, how much am I still in this picture? I know, what have your thoughts, what has been your experience in terms of how you've found working with getting your love a bit more pure with your father?
Yeah, this point you've mentioned about the expectations. I think that working with expectation, it's really key for me too, because I can see when I'm expecting a reaction or a response or something, it is again this central, I mean, it is again my ego talking, so it's not the true love for what it's expressing itself. If I really want to be happy, it doesn't matter what I receive from that person. And also I have seen in my practice that it is really crucial, and brings me back again to this idea from the Buddha, giving us the practice of metta, that you really need to start with yourself. And it's something I'm still struggling with, the idea of how can I offer myself authentic love. And it is not, again, this idea of self-ego doing that, because if we know if we don't have this, how we're going to be able to offer to others. So it's the same way. If I'm doing, again, a lot of expectations on my own, so if I'm doing that, so that is not my authentic love, or which are the person I'm not accepting. So for me also, love, it's a huge area of accepting, but really radical acceptance, that it is not because I'm going to allow everything, but it's because going into the root, I'm accepting you as a human being, or as a being in your wholeness, and be able to hold that in this space of like openness, like freedom, authentic freedom of just being you in the way you are, and not in the way I want that you present to myself or to the world.
Yeah, this comes back to the idea of offering love to all beings simply because they're human beings, not because you do this, or you give me this, or you have these qualities. That coming back to that, also that equanimity, where that acceptance piece. Yeah, thank you.
Venerable Lamsel, I want to follow up on what you just said because it's in common with something Venerable Chodron said last week and then Roshi Jun said a couple of weeks ago, which is the emphasis on equanimity as a foundational practice for love.
Yeah.
And I think what Venerable Kaya just talked about it points towards that, right? Because if what Venerable Kaya just said is accepting. That is how you like love without attachment, and you say the same thing as your Venerable Lamsel, and that accepting comes from equanimity. It's because when the mind is undisturbed by pain or loss, pain or pleasure, loss or gain, and then everything's acceptable. And once everything's acceptable, everyone is acceptable. And on that foundation, love is strengthened.
Yeah. In Venerables' book, Guided Buddhist Meditations, there's a specific meditation there on equanimity, where also pointing out, like, why do I consider this person a friend? Why do I consider this person an enemy? Why this person a stranger?
Right.
And it's very revealing because the word I features very strongly in all the reasons when we actually sit there and just allow the reasons to bubble up quite naturally. This idea of our self-referencing creates the different categories that we have because this person benefits me, this person likes me, this person praises me, therefore, friend, I like them. Attraction. And then aversion to those who criticize, who don't give me what I want. And and when that's total lack of acceptance in terms of and also just the indifference, most beings fall into the stranger category actually with who we know. And it's like just navigating around them like they're pieces of furniture. It's very unkind, not totally contradictory to the idea of love. So incredible, important foundation to cultivate this equanimity.
Thank you. Okay, we have a question from Christine.
While we were doing that meditation at the beginning, I found it easy to say I love you to like a parent, but when you try to say it to, I didn't really have a colleague, but the stranger or an enemy, it was like harder. It's like, I mean, I can wish them be happy and have the cause of happiness, but the I love you is like, it's not something you just go around saying to somebody. Then I was thinking, what do we, in a worldly sense, what do we actually mean when we tell somebody I love you? Because you just grow up saying that to people, and you say it back, and it's like, it's like you care for them, but in the Buddhism now I learned, so I wish them happiness, but I was just thinking about it. I don't really have a question. It was just on my mind, what do we?
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't encouraging that we go around saying I love you to everyone. That wasn't
I know.
in that reflection, but it was more like, we say this phrase, but what are we actually meaning when we say it? It can be a platitude almost, just, I love you. So it's just a way to say, nice to see you, bye-bye. Whereas it sparked my own reflection of like, what does it mean? And I really, when I say those words, I want it to mean, may you have happiness in its causes. And I want to have a real intentionality about what that means in terms of, I converse with my parents and they share sometimes the health struggles or the different things going on. And they sometimes share about their own anger or attachment or confusion. And it's like, when I say I love you, it's like, I wish you to be free from that. And the action's motivated by that. And they don't have the same spiritual framework as myself. So it's not something that we can really talk about. But when I say that, I mean that. So from our side, we can cultivate this wish. And it's also like, what with what Venerable Karya mentioned about the practice of metta, with our colleagues or with our friends or even strangers. It's like when we see others, it's like, may you be happy, may you be well, may you have all that you need. And so these little metta phrases that we can say throughout our day as we engage with others to cultivate and make almost like automatic this sense of care and warm-heartedness towards others. And even with those we struggle with, I find it a helpful antidote to my mind, my anger, when I'm struggling with someone, to start the meta phrases when I see them. And I see them and my body tightens. And it's like, go into the meta phrases, because even if my mind doesn't have warm, fuzzy feelings immediately, it cuts through some of the rumination. And it replaces this loop that is positive and redirects my mind to, oh, this is another sentient being that's wanting happiness and to not suffer. And may I engage with them at that level. Yeah.
Thank you, Venerable.
Thank you. Yes, for those, yeah, please don't go around saying I love you to everybody, because HR will be very sad.
You may get some interesting responses.
Yes. Well, yeah, I mean, I used to work in Google, so yeah, this is not HR friendly. So instead, the phrase that I use internally for myself is, I wish for you to be happy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did it affect your relationships?
Yes. So, I mean, this is your time, but I don't want to take, but there's no question. I can tell a story. And yes, if you have a question, just raise your hand. And I can speed out the story. The story was, so this was one of my core practices, like secretly wishing for people to be happy when they're passing by me. And then, so I was giving a talk. I did this practice, and so I say, okay, everybody in the audience, just wish for 2 people in this audience, wish them to be happy secretly, right? And then I was say, okay, that was a Monday evening. I said, okay, you all felt happy when you did that, right? Said, okay, good. Tomorrow is Tuesday. It's a work day. Tomorrow, when you go back to work, every hour on the hour, secretly wish for 2 people to be happy secretly. So it's not awkward. It's not HR unfriendly, because they just look at, don't even look at it. Just think, this person. I wish for this person to be happy. I wish for that person to be happy. That's it. Every hour on the hour, do it for 2 people. See what happens. So I give this homework. And then on Wednesday, I received an email from a total stranger. This person says, I came to your talk on, first she said, I hate my job. I hate coming to work every single day. They said, but I came to your talk on Monday. I did the homework on Tuesday, and Tuesday was my happiest day in 7 years.
Oh, wow.
Happiest day in 7 years. And what did it take? It took 80 seconds, because each exercise took 10 seconds. It took 80 seconds of thinking, I wish for this person to be happy. That's it. So this practice is extremely powerful. I recommend it for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The power of actually turning away from the focus on the self to looking outwards to wishing others and connecting with kindness. Totally
Yes.
transformative.
Yes, and for those of you who practice mindfulness, in the Satipatthana Sutta, the discourse on mindfulness, there is one part that a lot of people miss, which is the Buddha kept emphasizing when they're doing mindfulness, for example, mindfulness of body, for example, internally and externally. Mindfulness of mind, internally and externally. Mindfulness of feelings, internally, externally, and so on. And Buddha kept repeating that phrase, internally and externally, which means that when we are doing even just mindfulness, we should not be just focusing on just me. Mindfulness should be applied to others as well at the same time. Yeah, and so this is where the connection begins, even in just the private practice of mindfulness.
Yeah. Yeah, continually connecting our own experience to that of others.
Yeah. Good. Okay, do you have any more questions at this time? Yes, don't miss this opportunity, this valuable opportunity when you have a Venerable here with us. So I
I want to share
received.
one other thing, if I
Okay,
can.
please do.
Let
Yes.
me see if I can. What I wanted to show was an expanded version of the 4 measurables, just particularly on the immeasurable of love. And this we can find in some of the Mahayana practice texts, where it breaks up immeasurable love in having 4 aspects. And it's kind of leading to the idea of like generating bodhicitta, because we are taking responsibility for others' happiness. But I find this incredibly beautiful to make the practice of the 4 immeasurables longer and in a really engaged analytic meditation in itself. So beginning, how wonderful it would be if all sentient beings, and so when we say that, also thinking like, this person, making it individual, had happiness in its causes. So this is just a wish. And when we meditate on this significantly, then it can amp itself up a little bit into, may they have these, may they have happiness in its causes, where it's gaining this momentum and we're really aspiring for this to happen to others because we see truly how wonderful it would be if that could happen. And then I shall cause them to have these. So really, taking on that responsibility, seeing that, having seen the kindness of others actually so tremendously, we can't just rest on gaining our own happiness, but really want to, take on the responsibility to help others do the same. And then we see that our situation is quite limited right now. And so we request all our spiritual mentors in the Buddha to please inspire me to be able to do so. So requesting help, which sounds like we might be asking for others to do the work, but rather is really asking ourselves to do the work. Talking to ourselves, to practice sincerely, to do the steps of the meditation, and to connect with the lineage and practice the instructions we've received. So I just wanted to offer that briefly as well. That's another avenue to generating love that I find very helpful. I usually recite the 4 measurables daily as part of my practice, and when I have more time, I sit with the expanded version. And the expanded version can apply to each of the 4 immeasurables as well. The other 3 immeasurables: compassion, joy, and equanimity.
Thank you. I like the slide you just showed us. It reminds me of like vision statement, mission statement, and OKRs.
Yes, immeasurable love, mission statement of my life.
That's right, and KPIs, key deliverers. I have somebody is too shy to ask a question, so I receive a message. And this question is, do we have to feel love in order to cultivate it? Or rather, if we cannot feel it, can we cultivate without feeling it?
I think cultivating leads to feeling it. I mean, what's coming to mind is the instruction around cultivating metta, particularly that, at first saying the metta phrases can feel very flat and not generate this big emotional reaction where we're crying with love for others. But we keep persevering and then the mind shifts. So, and also, I mean, again, coming back to the idea of meditation being about familiarizing and practice, and where we're wanting daily consistency, it's like when we turn up to the cushion each day, we have such different circumstances. What happened the day before, what happened that morning or that evening, what are we bringing to the cushion? So doing the same meditation again and again is going to have vastly different results sometimes. And so we may have good sessions or bad sessions, but to not judge them that way, but more as like they are all part of the causes and conditions that will lead to a meditation that may have bring about a very beautiful experience where we feel love quite deeply. And then the next session, our mind is maybe all over the place because of some other reason. So I guess my point in saying this is it's not to judge our meditation, that it's not working or that it's not helpful if we don't have these amazing experiences where we really feel this strong love all the time. But it's about consistency and creating the causes, doing the meditations again and again, and then we see shifts. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I see. So for the question, so the message to the questioner is don't give up. Just trust the process, right?
Yeah, trust the process and also evaluate the effect over longer periods of time than we may be used to, or maybe wanting. Do not have unrealistic expectations that 1 or 2 or even 7 meditations on something is going to produce a life-changing experience. But it may, I mean, as you said, in the example that you gave, one day
Yeah,
brought quite immediate results,
that is true. Yeah.
or significant results.
Yes, 80 seconds. Yes.
So,
Mm, mm. Okay. Let's see. If there are no questions, I want to ask the last one to you. Venerable Lamsel, can you say something about self-love?
difficult. No.
If you're me, it's difficult.
Yeah. I think the acceptance piece is
Mhm.
huge. And yeah, coming back to that idea that there's no qualifications necessary to be worthy of love. Simply being a human being, a sentient being, a living being, all living beings are worthy of love. We all want to be happy, not to suffer. And so, in this sense, and I know this word might be difficult for some, but we all deserve happiness, in that sense that we all have the capacity for it. And in terms of that self-love, I think coming back to rejoicing in our own good qualities, in our own capacity and potential, is very important. To see that clearly, not in an arrogant way, but just in like, I'm a good person, and there are faults there, and there are afflictions there, and there are unskillful actions there, and I see them, and I'm working on them, and change will come. If I create the causes for the change. But yeah, acceptance, and to also, what I find very helpful is to separate the person from the afflictions or the actions. It's like, if I'm really seeing my anger or my unskillful speech, it's like, I am not that. That is not the sum total of who I am. It's just a habit. It's just something that I can transform. So I think a lot of the self-hatred or the lack of self-love comes from identifying very strongly with certain behaviors that we have done or still do, or certain patterns of afflictions that may not shift so easy. But if we can create a bit of distance, then distance and rejoice in the small or not so small transformations that we see, then we have this fuel to move forward in a very positive way.
Yeah, thank you. With that, Venerable Lamsel, can you please lead us in a closing dedication and please bless all of us?
Sure. Just imagining that maybe all the merit, all the goodness that we've gathered, created through this time together, as a ball of light at our heart that reaches out to all beings. Also creating this wish in our mind that whatever goodness we've received today and will go on to do will contribute to bringing about the lasting peace and happiness of all beings. Due to this merit, may we soon attain the awakened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their sufferings. May the precious Bodhi mind not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Friends, let's all bow to our teacher. Thank you. Thank you, Venerable, for being with us today.
Thank you, Ming. Thank you, everyone. Lovely to be with you.
Thank you. So, friends, this recording will be uploaded onto YouTube, onto our Buddhism.net YouTube channel. So, subscribe, share with your friends. And if you're inspired to practice dana or generosity towards Venerable Lamsel, please donate directly to the Sarvasti Abbey, and we'll be sharing the link by chat and by email. And in the next 3 weeks, we have 3 more wonderful venerables from Sarvasti Abbey to talk to us about love. So don't worry, you're not out of love, you're not lost without you. I know you are right, believe me for so long. With that, my friends, I'll see you all next week. Thank you, everyone.